Welcome to the final Grandpa Duggo slideshow, the Clannies. Now, in hindsight, it's probably not the best photo montage to do, but I think people that have been to the Clannies will enjoy it, and ones that haven't, it'll show you that it was an important, big part of the cave clan. Probably still is. There'll be some photos in this twice. I know that. I've already found a heap, but they're just so similar, just people partying. And I've got so many photos that I know there's going to be some that I've missed, so apologies for that. It's kind of rubbing it in, saying these are our awesome awards night that you can't come to, but have a look. So sorry about that too. And people that want their faces distorted or blurred out, I can do that easily. I was just sort of hoping that people wouldn't worry too much about that with this. They'd be like, they're all old photos and just people having a good time. We're not, doing naughty stuff. But there is a couple that have asked me to blur them, and I haven't blurred them yet. So hopefully I remember. If I don't, remind me and I'll blur them out. It was early March 1989 when Cougar was around at my flat in Arthurton Road, Northcote, sitting on this couch. And we were talking about how the clan was starting to grow. Often we talked about making up an event that we could hold that would help bring the clan together. We just had the 1000th day at the chamber, which had recently just been built, and we knew it was a good party location. And then while we were talking about it and coming up with ideas, an ad for the Logies came on, and we sort of looked at each other and went, that's pretty good. I'd had these Skittles, like bowling pins, that I'd painted silver and presented as trophies at work. Just silly awards. So we already had the trophies. And that was early March, and the Clannies were on April 1st, 1989, the first Clannies. You can tell that it's the first Clannies, these photos, because it's got the brown house paint backdrop. I painted the backdrop, and I'd had a few drinks while I was doing it, and the I was supposed to be the start of an N, but I was sort of just doing it by candlelight and couldn't see properly, and that's why it says Clannies and not Clannies. And then when Hugh redid it, he just did it with the one N. Hugh did the big chrome thing, which eventually became gold and has just continuously been added to. Hugh used to add everything to it, and then eventually other people have started doing similar stuff around it and below it and all that sort of thing. We were the first to use Uber drinks. These two dudes on the moped were here filming the Clannies for a uni student thing. We never actually got to see the footage. I can't remember his name even. But you can see them here doing a bit of filming and whatnot. But yeah, we ran out of alcohol, so everyone put in money and they took off on their scooter and came back with 2 or 3 slabs, saved the night. The first Clanny had the whole night was lit up by a lantern, a gas lantern, and that got knocked over and the place ended up trashed. That's the other thing I should point out. It was never meant to be an ongoing thing. I think it was just meant to be a one-off, I think. And anyway, we had the second Clannies, and there was all this talk about how the first one got smashed up. So, as you can see here, at the end of the night, people trashed the Clannies. We ended up having to really enforce, do not trash the place. We will use a lot of this stuff next year and during the year and all that. So, we had a wedding. There you can see a shot of the wedding. We've had the Clannies in a couple other spots. Once we had this issue with security, and we found this really cool location in a church in East Kew, I think it was. In there, they had this big theaterette thing, as you can see here. And that went really well. It was it's always awkward with the Clannies. You're always like waiting for the police to come, or waiting usually for the rain or the water to rise. Or you're waiting for the power to cut out, or the generator to run out of fuel, or the projector to blow, it's quite stressful when the awards are going. You're hoping that all the winners are there, and you're hoping that all the presenters are present, so it's a very stressful thing. This was extra stressful because we had neighbours and shit. But it was kind of down under I think it was a church. It might have been a school, actually, a Catholic school or something. And we were down under it. So that was good. We had it at Tetris once because it had rained so much. Even though it wasn't raining on the evening of the Clannies, the outlet to Anzac was like about a metre from the top. It went well, and what we did was, because it was, the Clannies is too big for Tetris, so we projected what was going on in one room into the next room, so we had 2 rooms full, and you could see it. Yeah, it was an interesting night. You wouldn't want to do it there. Well, you probably couldn't do it nowadays, but you can see a few photos from the night. The real cave clan. That caused a bit of a stink. That was sort of in relation to the inner circle, I think. It was like, you guys can call yourself Inner Circle, we'll call ourselves Real Cave Clan. It was just a shit stir. Another interesting thing that happened was Desi spreading Georgie's ashes in the chamber. He'd just made a comeback like within 12 months before. He said he's coming back and all that sort of thing, and he was getting back in the drain. So, yeah, after he passed away, Desi decided to scatter some of his ashes in the chamber during Clannies, and they sort of sat in a little white pile in the water for a little while, so everyone got to say goodbye to Georgie. There's a video of it somewhere. I don't know, there's one Clannies where I wore can dress. We actually got these can dresses from Panch, one of their fancy dress nights, and we actually explored Panch. We just didn't get enough footage or photos from Panch. Like the night that we explored it, it was almost worth getting caught by security or police just so they could arrest us all wearing matching can dresses. I had my can dress on that night. Moon, oh yeah, okay. That slab was a raffle. We used to raffle 2 slabs off, and first prize was a slab, second prize was a dozen, and third prize was 6, and I think the other 6 went to the presenter, which was often me. In more recent years, since they put the dam in, there's the raft. You can see the wood across them. That's how they ship seats and all that sort of thing up. Adelaide Clan, but this is one year where a bunch of them came over to Clannies. It was awesome having them there. Like the Clannies was a real, out of all Cave Clan things, I mean, Crit's raft trips were awesome, which I've got videos, a couple of them. They'd go over the Australia Day long weekend where he'd build up a raft with Id and a couple of other guys, and we'd just float down the Yarra for a few days on the raft. I always had this feeling of like, this is a Cave Clan thing. This is what makes Cave Clan great. This is exactly what I wanted, even though I never envisaged sitting on a raft with a bunch of friends that I go in drains with and explore abandoned buildings with. It was what I wanted when I originally wanted the Cave Clan to be something. The Clannies is the same. Just as everyone gathers, just the feeling of excitement. But I was always stressed on the night because, as I mentioned before, all the issues and things that can go wrong. Okay, so this is basically the Clannies up to 2016, maybe 17. You've probably heard me say negative things about the Clannies since then. I'm comparing them to the Clannies that we set up, the light-hearted, not too serious side of things. Now they've become serious and people fight over winning awards and the trophies are glitzy and 3D printed. Everything's whiz-bang, and whereas it's always meant to be a joke. I get it that people that have gone to the Clannies since 2017 are going to say they've had some of the best nights of their lives and all that. I'm not saying the Clannies are bad. I'm just saying that it's not what we set up. The other thing after 2016 was with the split in the clan, it sort of almost depended who was hosting it and who was doing the work. If someone who was from the Drain Drongo side of things hosted it and organised it, well, it seemed like the Drain Drongos won most of the awards because most of them would vote and the other side wouldn't vote in protest. And then if the Crime Church hosted it, Pizzy would win or Soy would win. So it wasn't like, one thing that I can guarantee you was when I ran the Clannies, it didn't matter who won. There's a couple of times where I tried to influence things unsuccessfully, 2 times in all those years, but I kind of got that feeling like it wasn't what it used to be. People were fighting over it. I did say to a couple of people, I wish they had to just change the name of it and made up their own awards, and they could have made it as serious as they wanted. It's good that it's gone on, and in a couple of years it'll be the 40th Clannies. Yeah, so anyone that's listening that does care about the history of the clan, keep the stupid awards in it. It's not meant to be a serious thing. It's meant to be a light-hearted night. Alright, that's about all I've really got to say on it, so I'll just leave you all to enjoy some people having a good night, and hopefully you get to come to the Clannies next year, 2026. The only thing that I have, which is pretty much for the whole of the Clannies, is at the end I've just chucked all the gold Clanny winners up. You'll see them towards the end of the video. Thanks for watching and all that stuff.